My name is Gabriel Oran. I am a realtor in Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. I like to stay closer to the D.C. and concentric circles around, but I go out there when clients need me to, and if I do know the area, since I grew up in Silver Spring and have lived kind of all over.
Okay. I'd like to ask a backstory about yourself and how you got started in your industry. Was this something that you always wanted to do? Did some plans change? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So plans changed. I was propositioned in college to help other college students rent, although I did not take a friend up on that opportunity. And then I was working at a gym in DC. So a personal trainer, fitness instructor, and even managing the club.
Okay.
And one of my clients was a realtor. He would come in and I would hear his stories and say, I could do that. So after a stint as an at-home dad with my son and still working at the gym a little bit as well, I went right into real estate once the summer of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you transitioned into that field, did you have a mentor? Were there any resources that you relied on? Would you mind sharing that just in case anyone's out there listening, thinking about it?
Yes. Real estate, I think when I went to the first class, the instructor said that 86% of realtors who get who pass the test stop practicing real estate within the first 3 years.
Whoa.
So it's a very high fail rate. It's also a really low bar of entry, in my opinion,
That's what
for
I've heard.
something that's so important. So I did come in with a mentor, and actually 3 mentors, which
Whoa.
was really nice. It was part of a team. One was really, really good at negotiating, and being a little fly on the wall, listening to that was hugely advantageous. One was an attorney, so going over the documents and knowing the contracts in and out, and they do keep changing and
Yes.
keep changing and keep changing, and you've got to stay up with that. And then the third, he was really great with interpersonal relationships. And it was just a really well-rounded mentorship. My main mentor was the negotiator,
Okay.
but learning all of the nuances of the contract, of negotiations, of having those personal relationships with other real estate agents was really important.
Yeah, I'm sure. And a lot of people have mentors, but I've never heard of one having 3. I think maybe they have, or they did mention that, but that's pretty cool. And I like that they were all in different categories of teaching you the laws, the negotiations, interpersonal communications. All of those are super important to build the ideal, or maybe not ideal. For some people, maybe they're like, that's not for me. But for some people, they're like, that's perfect. That's what I want.
Yes.
So I think that's great. I'd like to ask you, how do you approach marketing and promoting properties to potential buyers, and what strategies have you found to be most effective, or maybe not?
So one of my favorite things to do is promote properties. There have been rule changes over the past few years. One called Clear Cooperation, which the CEO of Compass is not a fan of, and I am in agreement with him. It kind of says that sellers have to sell in a certain way, when why would any agency say they have to sell in a certain way?
Yeah.
So for me, I do a lot of pre-market marketing, making sure that I'm getting the word out about specific properties to the agents around the area, to people around the area that would be interested. And if the offer comes in before the market, then it's up to the seller if they want to take that. If we do go to the market and put it live on the MLS,
Yeah.
then it's a mixture of making sure that it gets more and more exposure, because the MLS is the most amount of exposure that you're going to get.
Yeah.
But you can do so much before that to make sure you're prepared, making sure that the property looks like it's in its best shape.
Yeah.
I do have a contractor that I use personally and professionally,
Yeah.
and if we need to do a little refresh or facelift,
You've got
making
that.
sure that that gets done. A lot of times people who use their own contractors or some contractor that was recommended to them, they can leave mid-work, which
Uh-oh.
I've heard before and have seen before, and then it's just tough. So having a contractor that I know and that I know will come back
Yeah.
to do any of the fixes, you know, they're not perfect. There's going to be an issue. A cabinet may not be perfectly fitting. Something in the bathroom may not be working. Having them be able to come back and fix that is really important.
Yeah, and having someone you can trust, like you said, I'm glad that you have someone, right? So some of those horror stories don't become realities.
Yeah.
I love that. And then how have you implemented or are you using any technology that is helping you guys in real estate, maybe with AI or maybe something that's like, okay, this is not working for us, like.
Yeah, so I've been with Compass my entire career since 2017. Compass has done a great job with their platform and making sure that agents are supported throughout the entire process. I do use ChatGPT. I use social media to market. Probably should do some more. You know, I try to humble brag, but then sometimes I just let it go and make sure that I'm getting on to my next client and helping them. So it's just important to use everything at your disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And then let's see. What are some of the most important factors, in your opinions, that buyers and sellers should consider when choosing a real estate agent to work with?
Great question. First is a referral, in my opinion. Almost all of my business comes from my sphere of influence, from
pretty
people
good.
who I've used before, and they recommend me for, you know, helping them sell, buy, or both. You know, sometimes it's a complicated situation of what to do first or needing to do something and then the other, so you have to put those contingencies in, such as like a home of sale contingency, which may not be looked at the best in an offer, but still necessary to protect your clients. I take my responsibility as a fiduciary really to heart, especially, you know, looking for buyers, making sure that they've gotten the best situation, trying to help them through the lending process. You know, I've got recommended lenders that do a great job assisting my clients and making sure that they're taking advantage of every possible opportunity to minimize the costs out of pocket, to minimize their costs.
Absolutely.
And then on that flip side, for the sellers, making sure I can get them the best return on investment. So,
Very important.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And then what do you currently see as the biggest challenges facing the real estate industry or maybe in the next few years, and how do you think they can be addressed?
The biggest challenges facing the real estate industry. That's interesting because there are exterior factors that you have to take into account. Inventory and interest rates, and the market is always changing, and it really goes property by property. You know, so I just had a property that got under contract with a VA assumable loan. So I was able to get my sellers under contract with that. It's interesting to have all these factors come into play. I think interest rates do play a big part right now. I have clients who have the golden handcuffs.
So to say.
You know, below 3% interest rate. They don't want to get rid of that, and they would like more space. They would like a new home where usually they would be jumping at the opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
But when interest rates dropped that low, I think it was a little bit irresponsible. Good for all those people, very happy for them, but it does block up a lot of the inventory that should be moving. New inventory is not always my favorite. People always think, oh, it's brand new, it should be perfect. I often find that new builds have more issues than resales, than people who've lived in a property and have taken care and maintained it versus somebody who's just built it, you know. So all of those things considered, right now interest rates are high, you know, right now closer to 7, if not above. And that really puts mortgage payments out of reach for a lot of people where their budget has to decrease significantly.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people are like, I want it to go back to that 2-3%. It's going to come back. I'm holding off, right?
But it never should. You know, I think a healthy market would be somewhere in the 5s where people can move on and either keep their 3% as an investment property and then move up or move to a different place. I think if it ever goes below 4%, some exterior factors are causing it, and it's probably not the best.
Yes,
you know?
well said.
Nobody
well said.
wants another COVID.
No, please.
And they're not,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to ask you, in your opinion, or maybe with your knowledge, what are some hot spots that you are seeing that people are just like, okay, wow, I've been seeing like this place is popping off right now?
So around the DMV, around DC, Maryland, and Virginia, there are always going to be desirable areas and desirable properties within those areas. So I just moved to Bethesda in 2023.
Okay.
And a lot of the neighborhoods around me are in that arena. There are some places that have had a really tough time recovering from the last few years, such as condos in DC. You know, I'm hoping that we do see a resurgence in DC condos because I think that will bring a lot more life to the city, and even Bethesda condos and Tyson's Corner condos and Arlington condos. People have wanted more space and detached homes for the most part versus going into a condo, and I think that's kind of skipping a step. You know, my first property that I bought was a condo, and I think skipping that step makes it a little bit difficult inventory wise.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'd like to ask you, when you buy, I guess, your own home or you're getting your condo, what has your experiences been like, and have you learned anything about yourself through working with, I guess, maybe other agents with your own home? Could you give us any tips or any insights maybe that you've learned, or maybe something about yourself?
Yes. So the relationship with an agent, whether for myself buying property or representing my client, is really important. And it's a collaboration. You know, it's not really a competition in a way. It's making sure that both sides are represented, and a seller wants to sell, a buyer wants to buy, and we can make that process smooth together. There are always bumps in real estate transactions, and trying to preemptively avoid those or come up with solutions as they come up are necessary. It's why we have a slew of resources like title attorneys, lenders, attorneys who are with like management companies, and that way you can get all the answers that you need to help through. So in my own purchasing, I've noticed that W-2 employers are much easier. If you have a 1099 or somebody who's got a little bit of a mixed tax-wise issue, it becomes harder. If
Okay.
somebody is a simple W-2 employee, they get a salary, bonuses, whatever it may be,
It's just easy.
lenders really like that. And if somebody does have the cash to purchase a property outright in cash, that makes it the easiest.
I'm sure.
Not all of us can do that.
No, ma'am. No.
But those who can, it does make the process a little bit more streamlined. The lending portion is always going to be a huge factor in moving forward. So getting the lender all of the documents, everything for myself has always been difficult. And for my clients, the ones that are W-2, very easy to go through. It's a lot smoother of a process.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your experience. I appreciate that. I'd like to ask you, when you're not helping people buy or sell homes or in the real estate industry, what do you like to do to take care of yourself as far as like taking time off, setting boundaries? What are those things that we can find you doing?
So I do love playing around with my kids and doing all the activities, helping my son with his basketball and soccer, my daughter with my stepson with his art. Then I do like snowboarding, so
Cool.
I'll head to the mountains and get a few days.
Or you could just go right out here now. No, I'm just kidding. Not enough snow.
Exactly. I do keep a little bit of, I'll say, my former life. I just started teaching a circuit training class at the Equinox in Bethesda.
Okay.
And that's just to kind of keep a little bit different, have a place to go, another community. And, you know, it's been fun. So I've been doing that for a couple months. And
Awesome.
It's been entertaining.
How do you balance everything? Do you find that it's easy for you or is it challenging?
It was challenging when I had to take into account a partner's schedule. So when I was juggling my own schedule with kids and I was juggling my mentor's schedule, it was a little bit more difficult. For me and my family and just focusing on my own business, I find it a little bit easier to allocate the time to all the necessary things that I need to do.
Yeah.
You know, so I know that midday on Tuesdays, I'm going to be at Equinox. So everything kind of moves around that.
Yeah.
All the other days that I have meetings or have to go to open houses or show properties, they fit into their time slots nicely.
Perfect. Yeah. I was just wondering, like, do you have a schedule? Do you have like certain days where it's like this is going on, or sometimes you have to be flexible? So that's cool. Other entrepreneurs listen, and sometimes they're like, sometimes I'm answering texts at 11 p.m. Some people are like that, right? Everybody's different. Some things work for them, some things don't. Do you find yourself giving yourself boundaries or?
Yes, and I really value family time. So when we do have dinner, we sit down and I put my phone away. So unless there's a pressing issue, I don't really pick up between the times of 5 and 8. I do a lot between 8 and 10. And I like that. You know, I shut down for that time. I love doing bedtime, reading books, watch a little show, whatever it may be. And then after that happens, there have been, I mean, all through the last few years, I would sit down after and have my clients on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever, video chat.
Yeah.
And I would do my buyer presentation. Sellers, I'm usually going to the home that I would be selling, but buyers, it would be after bedtime, 8:30 to 9:30. Let's just have a little conversation. I'll break it down for you, and we can see if we work together well.
Yeah, love it. And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years as a person and with your business?
Great question. I see myself expanding to a point that I'm comfortable with. I feel that there are times that things have slowed down, and I don't have anything like pertinent in my foresight. Like there's nothing right in front of me that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And then something comes comes forward. So during those times, it's just focusing on little things that I can do. I stay involved with Compass agents. I stay involved with Compass learning experiences, always trying to add in seminars and classes to make sure that everything's just moving forward and staying on top of the industry and that way.
Love it. Is there anything perhaps that I have not touched on that you would like to share, whether it's in regards about your business, yourself, your personal life? Maybe you have a book that you're working on. Maybe you've got some mentor workshops. Anything at all?
No, not really. I kind of just do what's in front of me.
Yeah.
That foresight will probably come in more and more.
Yeah.
I enjoy my home life and making sure that everything's working. I just got a Shih Tzu puppy.
Oh, those are so cute.
4 months old, and he's 5 pounds, which is very
Tiny.
different than our other dog, which is a 110-pound Mastiff. And
Complete opposites.
my 100-pound Rottweiler before that, and all of the big dogs. So I've moved over to a small dog. His name is Chunk Norris.
Chunk Norris. No, that is great.
And he's been a great addition to the family. I was thinking about bringing him here.
Oh, I
but
wish you did. Why did you say that?
I know.
Darn.
But overall, it's making sure my clients are taken care of, making sure that they're a priority. I take that really to heart, making sure that I am going to help them either buy the house that they need to or sell in the time that I can hope for. The market does not always cater to that. I wish it did.
Yeah, I know.
But making sure that my clients are taken care of. So when everything comes in front of me, taking care of it the best that I can.
I love that. I do have to go back to Chunk Norris, though.
Yeah.
How's the Mastiff? Does he want to eat him or
No.
thinks he's a chew toy? Is he gentle with him?
So gentle.
Oh
It's
my
really cute. I've got pictures of them like snuggling. I've got pictures of Chunk racing around Koa the
Zoomies.
Mastiff Zoomies. And it's great. I wanted that like big dog energy of calm and
Stoic
and like understanding. And I did not want a small yappy dog. So it's been really nice having that whole situation. They get along great.
Perfect.
Sometimes Koa gets a little bit annoyed. That's the Mastiff.
Yeah.
But it's, I think he's okay because he's getting a lot more treats.
Yes.
Treats.
Go puppies and Mastiffs.
Yeah.
Living
So
that life.
It's been great. And then I've never been able to just pick up the Mastiff.
I'm sure.
I can just scoop that Shih Tzu up.
Let's
Chunk
go.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That made my day. I wish you brought Chunk Norris. I would have just been like, hey, Chunk, come here,
Next
Chunk.
time. I know I was thinking about it as well, but.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, next time.
Next time. That's right. Okay, my final question. Do you have a quote or a saying that has inspired you, or maybe a song lyric, a movie quote? Can you share that?
So I'll say it's more recent. One is kindness always matters. And then the next one is the person who married me and my wife last year.
Yeah.
Says surrender to the flow.
Surrender to the flow.
Surrender to the flow. So if things are working, keep surrendering to the flow, keep moving forward. If things have kind of stopped up, there may be a little reason for it, and just let things flow, and it'll keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good one. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing a lot of wisdom, tips, and just your backstory and experiences. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it too. My pleasure.
Shout out Chunk Norris.
Yeah.